Have you ever wondered who decides that a Guinness World Record is official? Or what were the first records that were recorded? Imagine a book that brings together everything from the most historic deeds to the strangest and most amazing achievements on the planet. From the world's tallest man to the largest pizza ever baked. Everything has its place. Today we will discover how this phenomenon was born, who promoted it, what its first records were, and how it evolved from a simple advertising project into the world's Bible of the extraordinary. Let's get started. At a hunting party in Ireland in the mid-1950s, the guests chatted animatedly, the glasses filled and emptied, and suddenly a heated argument ensued. The theme? It is not politics, nor religion, it's something much more peculiar. What is the fastest hunting bird in Europe? Some claimed that it is the capercaillie, Tetra urogallus. Others swore that it is the golden plover, Plovilus apricaria. The stakes quickly rose in tone, but no one can prove it. That moment, which seemed so trivial, ignited a historic spark. The protagonist was Sir Hugh Beaver, a British engineer and businessman who, at the time, was the CEO of the Guinness Brewery. The year was 1951, and Sir Hugh, frustrated at not being able to settle the discussion, thought, what if there was a book that collected verified data to solve this type of debate in pubs? His idea was brilliant, but straightforward: to create a reference work that contained the most extreme, impressive, and curious facts and figures in the world. Not just about birds, but about anything: sports, nature, human achievements, inventions, curiosities. And so, 4 years later, in 1955, the first edition of the Guinness Book of Records was born. But Sir Hugh did not do it alone. He commissioned the investigation from two journalist brothers, Norris and Ross McWhirter, known for their almost obsessive precision and ability to find verifiable data. They compiled, in less than 13 weeks, a first edition with 198 pages full of records and curiosities. The book was not sold in bookstores, but was given away for free in pubs to promote Guinness beer and, incidentally, put an end to arguments. What began as an advertising tool was such an overwhelming success that within a few months it became a publishing phenomenon. By the end of 1955, the Guinness Book of World Records was already the best-selling book in the United Kingdom after the Bible, and it was beginning to cross borders. This is how, thanks to a debate about a bird and the mind of a businessman, one of the most famous books in history was born. When the Guinness Book of World Records first came into the public eye in August 1955, no one, not even Sir Hugh Beaver, could have imagined that a global cultural phenomenon was being born. The first edition was printed in London by Guinness Superlatives Limited, in an initial print run of 50,000 copies. The idea was to distribute them for free in pubs in the United Kingdom and Ireland as a quick reference material to resolve arguments. But within weeks, people began to look for it, collect it, and talk about it as if it were a treasure. The funny thing is that the first book didn't have flashy photos or a luxurious design. It was a modest volume with black and white pages, dense text, and data tables. However, what it lacked in aesthetics, it made up for in addictive content. Within its pages, the reader could find answers to questions ranging from the trivial to the astonishing. The tallest man on record, Robert Wadlow of Alton, Illinois, with a height of 2.72 meters or 8.92 feet. The fastest land animal, the cheetah, Achinoix ubatus, capable of reaching 93 kilometers per hour or 58 miles per hour. The largest fish ever caught, a 1.2-ton white shark caught near Australia. The rainiest city? Cherrapunji in India, with rainfall up to 26 meters or 85 feet per year. This data not only satisfied curiosity, but also raised new questions. The audience was stuck in a cycle of, since I'm here, I'm going to read another one. In just 3 months, the book went from being an advertising gift to becoming a bestseller. The publisher had to launch new editions to meet the demand for bookstores, and by the end of 1955, it was already in the top 10 bestsellers in the United Kingdom. But why was something that seemed so niche so successful? The key was that the book touched on something universal: the human fascination with extremes. The biggest, the smallest, the fastest, the oldest. We're attracted to them because, in some way, they help us measure what we think is possible. In addition, there was a detail that few noticed at the time. The book not only collected historical or natural records, but also contemporary human achievements, opening the door for anyone to appear in its pages if they broke a record. That promise of editorial immortality, even if it was for eating more hot dogs in less time, planted the seed of what would be, in the future, a global competition to appear in its pages. The Guinness Book of World Records has gone from being a promotional brochure to a cultural phenomenon. And although it was still far from the television and media fever that would catapult it in later decades, it had already made it clear that it was here to stay. Although it was born as a modest publicity project to promote Guinness beer, the book soon became something much bigger than its initial purpose. What in 1955 had been a pamphlet designed to solve arguments in pubs, by the beginning of the 1960s was already a work with a life of its own. So much so that the publisher, Guinness Superlatives Limited, ceased to be a single branch of the brewery to become a label specialized in documenting and verifying human, animal, technological, and natural feats around the world. The key to this leap was a shift in focus. It was no longer just about collecting data from encyclopedias and historical records, but about documenting achievements in real time. This required the creation of a much more rigorous verification system, eyewitness official documents, accurate measurements, and even the presence of specialized referees who certified that a record had indeed been reached. Thus was born, without anyone planning it, an industry of record. Guinness World Records began to cover unthinkable categories, from technology, the fastest plane in the world, the X-15, which reached 7,273 kilometers per hour or 4,520 miles per hour in 1967, to natural curiosities, the oldest tree, a 4,846-year-old bristlecone pine in California. Also included were sporting prowess, artistic achievements, and even culinary extravaganzas, such as the largest pizza baked or the tallest wedding cake on record. By the end of the 1960s, the book was already published annually, each edition thicker and more diverse than the last, with records coming from all continents. Its reputation grew so much that, for many, if it's not in Guinness, it doesn't exist. The phenomenon also changed the dynamics of records. Before, breaking a record could be something that went unnoticed outside a specialized circle. Now, appearing in the Guinness World Records has become a goal in itself. Thousands of people around the world began to design absurd, creative, or challenging feats with the sole goal of appearing in their pages. In short, Guinness had created a new cultural identity, that of record hunters, and the most interesting thing is that without intending to do so, it had democratized fame. You didn't have to be an elite athlete, a famous scientist, or an influential politician. It was enough to have an original idea, the determination to execute it, and the necessary evidence to prove it. The book that was born to accompany pints of beer no longer needed its original foam to continue growing. Now it stood on its own, and it was ready to conquer the planet. By the time the 1980s rolled around, Guinness World Records were no longer simply a book flipped through once a year. It was a global institution, a seal of authenticity that could catapult anyone to international fame. But Guinness's real leap into the global phenomenon came when it decided to stop being just ink on paper and became a multimedia spectacle. The big first step was television. In 1976, the British show Record Breakers brought the world's most astonishing and outlandish attempts to the screen. Hosted by Roy Castle and brothers Norris and Ross McWhirter, one of whom co-founded the book, the show combined spectacular feats with interviews and fun facts. This format was so successful that it was soon replicated in other countries, from the United States to Japan. In 1998, the Guinness World Records primetime program aired in the USA, where viewers would see live records such as the world's most elastic man or the most melons broken in an hour. But Guinness was not satisfied with television. In the 2000s, it opted for a much more interactive model. Public events were created in squares, stadiums, and international fairs, where candidates of all ages could try to break a record in front of official judges. This is how live certifications were born, a format that still moves crowds today. Companies, cities, and even schools hire Guinness so that a referee with his blue jacket and official notebook certifies on the spot if they have achieved the biggest, the fastest, or the most numerous of something. The 21st century also brought the digital revolution. Guinness World Records launched its website and social media channels, allowing anyone from anywhere on the planet to submit their application to register a record. According to official figures, they receive more than 50,000 applications each year, but only about 6,000 become verified records. On YouTube, its videos have amassed hundreds of millions of views, and on Instagram and TikTok, its clips range from athletic feats to challenges as bizarre as the most spoons balanced on a human face. The impressive thing is that Guinness achieved something that few brands have achieved: to be recognized and respected in practically every country in the world, regardless of language, religion, or culture. From remote villages to hyper-connected metropolises, everyone knows the gold and black stamp that reads Guinness World Records, officially amazing. The book had ceased to be an annual product to become a global brand. This cultural phenomenon unites humanity in something as simple and powerful as celebrating even the most unusual of achievements. Nowadays, getting into the famous Guinness World Records book is not as simple as doing something weird and hoping it counts. The organisation has stringent criteria for a record to be accepted. It must be measurable, with accurate and quantifiable data, verifiable, verified by witnesses and solid evidence, breakable, it cannot be something like the first person to exist, and of global interest. It has to be something that arouses curiosity or admiration beyond a local scope. This means that it is not enough to have an eccentric idea. Documentary evidence, photographs, videos, and even the presence of an official judge are needed if the attempt is live. And although it may seem complicated, there are thousands of people every year willing to give it a try. According to official Guinness data, more records are being broken today than ever before, thanks to globalization, access to information, and the ability for anyone to register online. The digital age has democratized the process. If in the 60s and 70s most records came from countries with access to international media, today they can arise from a school in Kenya to a small town in Alaska. However, not all records fall easily. Some have stood the test of time for decades, such as the record for the tallest person in history, Robert Wadlow, who stood at 2.72 meters or 8.92 feet, and whose mark set in 1940 seems almost impossible to beat. Others, on the other hand, change hands every year. Records such as the most hot dogs eaten in 10 minutes or the fastest Rubik's Cube in the world are constantly broken thanks to improvements in training and technique. Today, with thousands of new records every year and a global community connected by curiosity, Guinness World Records continues to prove that there will always be something new to discover, measure, and surpass. And you, who hear this story, may wonder, what will your record be? Because if this story teaches us anything, it is that in the world of the extraordinary, anyone can enter whenever you dare to try.